and I'm a lecturer in the Department of Communication. I like to use a lot of them because they all like to learn differently, and public speaking is greatly feared. I have a lot of students who share with me that it's their second or third time taking a class. We always have a range of freshmen to seniors, so I like to have them up and moving. So I never do straight lectures. I don't use PowerPoints. I think it's really easy to get lost, and then especially if you say this will be posted on Canvas, you immediately lose them because they know I'll just look at it later and they're not as engaged. So I enjoy, my favorite one is when we do delivery and we're talking about getting rid of any vocal hindrances that they have, like using ums or any kind of their own version of some of them will say and stuff like that. And I bring in cotton balls and they'll throw cotton balls at each other whenever they say those things. So getting them up and moving and actually practicing versus just discussing like, you need to practice. We'll actually do it in theory. I like to put them in groups, have them talk with one another, because then they discover that they're not alone. They're all feeling very similar things. And I like to work with them. If they're ever in groups on a work day, or if I give them an activity to do, I walk around. I'm never sitting or just standing up at the front, but I go and I sit down and work with them. And I believe that decreases the power distance that can exist between an instructor and a student in a positive way. And they don't have to walk to the front to ask a question. It also decreases that anxiety that they can feel between a student and an instructor. It's interesting because it's not always measurable, and sometimes you don't know that you have gotten the desired result until months later, possibly years. I was working at Clemson when I got a message from someone that I taught at South Dakota State. So what I've learned to get out of each class is faith that what I taught did reach them, even if I don't see a measurable outcome on their face or in their words. So what I've learned to get out of each class is that I prepped and I taught them well, and that the outcomes that I wanted them to learn, like I wanted them to understand the definition of communication anxiety. I wanted to have these clips played. I wanted to ask them these questions, understand these definitions, practice these things, and then make sure that all questions they had were answered. For example, I asked them, what questions do you have? Instead of do you have questions? Because then they feel like, oh, I'm supposed to have questions and I'm allowed to ask them, instead of I don't want to ask because I will feel like I'm ignorant and no one else has them. So what I like to get out of each class is knowing I did the best I could, and therefore I know that they have the best chance of succeeding. But ultimately, it's really great when someone comes up afterwards and asks a further question, because it means that they care, they want to know more, and they want to do better. Or can I meet with you in your office hours? Yes, of course you can. Like, I love when they ask, because I'm like, of course, you don't have to ask, please do come. My motto is that I want my students to be able to speak anywhere, anytime, with anyone about anything. And the second is that they follow their dreams, whatever they are, using communication and public speaking skills. I think some students come into the class thinking we want to turn them into communication majors, which, yes, please add a minor, join our major if that's your love and your passion. But I don't care if your goal is to do something in engineering or business or computer science or veterinary sciences. It doesn't matter. The goal is to show them how public speaking can get you there, and it has value. If you can explain something so complex very simply, places are gonna snap you up so fast you don't even realize it. And that's the biggest goal, is to say, I'm not trying to convert you to another path. I just want to show you how we can help you on your specific path. And not just in the future, because I think a lot of students come away thinking, oh, okay, I get it. public speaking will help me in a couple years. No, like now, and not just when you have speeches and other classes, but like in this moment with your friends, with your families. We just recently did a class on vivid language and using language effectively. And I had them take out their phones and in their notes app, type out a thank you note to someone. And then after we discussed vivid language, how to make it more decorative, sophisticated, ornamental, painting a picture and using your words to give a speech that could be like a gift to someone and not just a plain speech. I had them rewrite that thank you note. Like, would you use a personalized nickname? How could you say you're awesome, thanks so much in a more specialized way, and then send that version instead? And how can you make your words even better? Speech isn't just for speeches, it's for beyond that. And that's what I want them to take away. How they can succeed, honestly, is reading the syllabus. The syllabus is meant to be a tool and not this big weighing down unimportant policies. Like, they're there to be a resource and not an anchor that just drags you down. So succeeding means following what's there and using it, because I put stuff in there that's going to help you. Succeeding also means simple things like following deadlines. But the biggest way to succeed, I think, is coming to office hours and talking about what's causing them the most stress. And whenever we have work days, I say, do the hardest thing first. Whatever is scaring you the most about an assignment or the hardest, do it now when you're working with a peer or when you're working with me, because once that weight is off of you, the rest of the assignment is going to be so much easier. There is a huge pro to like the lack of having travel time, driving, trying to find a parking spot on campus. Hi, Mozzie. That's a huge pro to online classes. Pets and the connection you make with your students about them. Another thing is that when students are giving speeches normally, I'm facing the student who's speaking, and I generally sort of keep an eye out on the students around me, and I normally sit in the back because then the student needs to project, and that's the main reason I can kind of see what's going on. But yesterday in class, a student gave an informative speech on how to cook the best cheeseburger. And I saw a student nod their head at like the specific degree it was supposed to be cooked at, and I wouldn't have seen that in class. Like, I would have missed that. And afterward, this huge conversation and debate on whether or not cheeseburgers and steaks should be bloody or rare or cooked all the way through came up, and that conversation and then the resultant like bonding that happened would not have happened because I wouldn't have been able to say, Evan, I saw you like really agree with what Carter said about cheeseburgers. And that kind of stuff, like, the students don't realize it, but that's what bonds them and makes them more comfortable. And the students have time and time again said, when they know each other, they feel more comfortable speaking in front of one another. And so every class, I think, what can I do to facilitate talking with one another, sharing and feeling more comfortable? And those are moments that wouldn't happen in the classroom because you just wouldn't see it. And that's just one example of the great things of online classes. Another is like comes from the same thing. The chat box, in some ways that can detract, but in this case it didn't. When that debate was going on about, medium rare, well done, a lot of people were talking and others had thoughts and they added them in the chat box. And so then I could say, oh, Carly added here. And so students who in class maybe wouldn't have joined the conversation because there were a lot of dominant voices speaking, still got to speak. And because I'm the teacher and I said it, then they felt comfortable enough to also speak up. So you're hearing more voices online than you would have in class. I think that's excellent. I love that. And it made me so happy to hear that and see that in class. It was a special moment, and it's not rare, it's common. The Zoom difficulty that literally stopped us The other difficulty with online classes has been eye strain. I didn't pick up a hobby, but I picked up a commitment, and it was Mozzie, my cat. And she is so quirky, and she gets jealous during class. So jealous. She'll meow my textbook. Oh, I hid it. I put it in my bedroom and closed the door, because otherwise she will start pawing, tearing, and biting it up during class, because I have it out, because we're learning from it. And she'll do that to get my attention back. But she'll hang out. Normally those aren't closed, but I wanted to make sure we could see them. She'll hang out in the windows. The other day, she appeared across the screen, just her tail, and she sat on my lap, and the students could see that. And one of the students in the chat said, "Shout out to Mozzie for listening to our speeches." My first thought goes to Library Bridge and like just walking around campus. I always used to say that we work in a park. Like we work in a park, and if you count the squirrels, like we work in a zoo. I love to go down and sit at the pond outside of the library, and some people are like, "Oh, that's not a pond, it's, you know," I'm like, "No, it's beautiful, it's perfect," and sit on the benches there, and I would go and grade. I'm so excited to go back and do that, and to be outside. And I enjoy working around campus in the different buildings, and I can't wait to just be back. It sounds really simple, but I just can't wait to be back on campus and be outside and grade there. The support from the department in reaching your academic and even, dare I say, personal goals. Joe Mazer, when you tell him something, he remembers it. And when you think about Joe and the amount of people he knows, like, I don't know how he tracks it all, because there's not like this big board in his office that has like the 2,368 people that he must be keeping track of. So I don't know how he does it, but I had said, I would like to do X. And within the next 2 weeks, I got 3 emails with opportunities to do X. And wait, that's like a drug. I should have not chosen X as the word. I think that's a drug. But anyway. So you say, I would like this opportunity, and he's so well connected that he's like, "Oh, here it is, Ashley." And that's really important. When there's something that you're passionate about and you love, and you tell someone that, and then they say, "Okay," and then they find it for you, that is a huge gift, because when I view this work, it's my passion and my love. So for someone to look out for that for you is everything. And teaching, I don't think you can teach and not grow personally. They're intertwined. So it's got to be that if your goal is to become, whatever your goal is, you can achieve here. Cookout, didn't know that existed, didn't go there until maybe a year of living here, and was like, they have milkshakes? I got so excited, and really cheap food, that's good. So I really love Cookout. But my favorite spot is Lake Abernathy. It's close by, it's simple, it's by the water. They have those hanging benches that you can sit on, and it's so peaceful. That is my favorite place in the city of Clemson. This is not the time to give up. This is the time to dig in. Good ones play hurt, and I think we all feel hurt right now. And that is absolutely fair and natural. You're here, and you are absolutely able to do all the work in front of you. At the same time, you need to be so kind to yourself. And I think one way we do that is we change how we take breaks and we change how we rest. Right now, it's not necessarily about doing the fun things, it's about doing the hard things so that you can accomplish what you ultimately want, which is your degree. But your degree is there to help you get your dream job. So the advice is don't give up, but also be kind to yourself.